Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy and other Eagan community television programming is supported by Thomson Reuters, makers of Westlawn Next and based in Eagan. Through Westlawn Next and other innovative online services, Thomson Reuters is the world's leading source of intelligent information for businesses and professionals. Online at thomsonreuters.com. And by U.S. Federal Credit Union, the member-owned financial institution offering service, value, and experience you can trust to the greater Twin Cities community.
Welcome back to Access to Democracy. Alan Miller here again as your host. And I was just talking to our guest, Dave Osberg, who was here not quite a year ago.
Early June, I think it was.
Yeah. Starting as the Eagan City Administrator after a long tenure in Hastings, succeeding Tom Hedges, who was the only other administrator we've ever had since Eagan became a city.
Right.
So tell us about your first year. How's it been?
Alan, I knew that's what we were going to talk about, and I've been reflecting on it, and I've shared with you and perhaps others, it feels like my freshman year is over in high school. I remember being here last year in June or so, somewhat 3-4 months after I started, and frankly being probably a bundle of nerves, not only to do the show, but more importantly, just all that was going on at that time and how I felt like I wasn't contributing much to the organization or the city. I was spending a lot of time getting to know the city council, the mayor, the staff, and the community. And there was kind of a milestone. I think it was about late December or so when the mayor and I were chatting, and we just had a council meeting a day or two prior, and I kind of said to him, I think I now get it. I kind of understand now how the processes work here in Eagan. Every city has their own processes and kind of just how things get done. And I forget exactly what the topic was, but we kind of had to weave our way the week prior to the council meeting. And it was a topic at the council meeting, and it went very well. And I remember saying to the mayor, I get it. That worked well. And the other thing, in June when I was here, Alan, my wife and I had not moved yet from Hastings to Eagan. We bought a house, and we now live in Eagan as of October 1st in the fall. And that was kind of a trying time as far as just getting a house of 17 years ready for sale. My wife had the good fortune of being home last summer as a school teacher, and she was the one doing the painting and getting it ready for sale. And we were fortunate enough to be able to sell it pretty quickly after it was on the market, and then we had to find one here. I'm actually not very far from our studio. So it was very nice when the moving truck kind of landed, if you will, here in Eagan on October 1st, and it's been kind of exciting to rebuild a home here in our new house in Eagan. So it finally feels I think there's something to be said about that first year in any sort of
in any position,
exactly,
that first year, right?
Exactly, and
yes.
I've shared with some of the staff at Eagan, as well as the mayor and council. They, in certain circumstances, many of the staff, they're very good about keeping me apprised of what was going on. Dave, want to just let you know about this, just want to tell you about this. And now, probably last fall or into the first part of the year, now they might say, we just want to let you know about this. When are you going to make a decision? Because now it's not only are we informing you of what the issue at hand might be, but they've been very good about saying, okay, now we'll want to get some sense on when you're going to get back to us.
Well, you are literally the CEO, which, matter of fact, we have in one of the graphics, and you're the boss of the employees.
That's a common thing that I will share. People will ask me, what does a city administrator do? And I'll compare it somewhat to a CEO of a business, and sometimes people might appreciate the comparison, like a principal in a school, certainly a different sort of business, if you will, but a CEO is probably the the most common comparison that I think many would
When you
appreciate.
do the hiring and firing.
Well,
and,
technically in Eagan, the mayor and the council do the hiring and firing, but most of the time it's
well, you do the dirty work, and then they get the
there
final
you go.
say.
There you go. That's kind of not uncommon, and that's okay. That's part of the love of the profession myself and many of my peers have. But there's a management team of 8 or 9 department heads, and they all report to the city administrator, and then the comparison, of course, would be the mayor and council are, in a sense, the board of directors, and they give the direction and we implement it.
You came on board for the worst winter
Oh.
in memory. What special challenges did you have, and or did we run out of sand, for instance?
Well,
those people had to be working many more hours than anticipated.
I think the issue that affected Eagan as much as anything this year, Alan, and other cities that many may have heard about throughout the winter is frozen water lines and freezing in leading into people's homes, and we had some certain circumstances where we had to run some hose through a backyard because their water line was frozen. So it wasn't. I think the extreme cold was the. In many respects, the biggest issue this year, and the length of it. I mean, as you well know, we had just on record-setting in many respects.
Unending winter.
Yes, and I know our public works and parks and all of our employees involved in snow removal did a great job, and but I think everyone was pleased to know that. I think we can all say winter is finally over, and
I certainly
nothing like a
hope so.
glorious day like we're experiencing today.
As we sit here on the cusp of Memorial Day
Yeah.
weekend.
I was thinking we should do this outside. How nice it is here
Oh,
on
it's
this
beautiful today.
afternoon.
Yes, yeah, Sharon and I, as we were walking into the building today, say, it's a day like this that makes you realize the beauty of Minnesota.
It really does, Alan, and it's supposed to be that way for a couple days. And I don't know about you, but you can. I think many of us can feel the more positive vibes, if you will, from people that
Absolutely.
are happier, more chipper.
It's depressing when,
Yeah,
when you
absolutely.
have, you get up every day and it's below zero,
Right.
and we had many days like that.
Yeah.
Plus, there's more snow.
Right. And it just seemed like there was no end. And then, of course, a year ago, we're having snow in late April and May. And but glorious day like today and a Memorial Weekend's, I think, the unofficial kickoff of summer for us here in Minnesota, and we're all looking forward to it, of course.
I don't want you to get nervous, but our monitor just died over here,
Well,
so
hopefully they can still see us on the air when the
I
time
think
comes.
they can see us on the air. But, well, what can I say? State-of-the-art equipment, it still has a mind
I know
of
I
its
can't
own.
fix it, so.
It will stay that way for this show. Now, another thing is you came on board, and of course everybody was so used to Tom Hedges because Tom is a fixture in this city. But really, at an incredible time, we have the Cedar Grove Outlet Mall, which is virtually close to being completed.
August 14th is opening day, correct?
And let's talk about that, and then some of the housing developments. Our golf courses are gone. We'll talk about that. But tell me about Cedar Grove.
Everything's on task to open on August 14th. We're in the midst of scheduling some meetings, if you will, neighborhood meetings, I'll call them for now, to share with folks what to expect from a traffic and transportation down at the outlet mall when they open. We've had some studies done that illustrated that of course, grand opening and Thanksgiving weekend and during the holiday shopping, that
There's going to be chaos down there. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of traffic, but Simon has done a great job of their kind of searching for areas where they can have remote parking for their employees, and they're going to encourage that considerably. We're working with Simon to maybe have some of the existing empty lots that are still for sale, put some gravel down and have those available for parking. So one of the great things about the whole process, Alan, in the outlet mall, it certainly started before I started here as an administrator in Eagan, but the working relationship between the city council, the city staff, and Paragon, now that it's kind of transitioning to Simon, who will be the operator, but we're all working very well together and understand the importance of this, not only for the city, but the city government, if you will, but the operation of the business as a shopping mall. And everyone's, the other, I guess, opportunity that people are just continuing to recall or reflect on. It's a it's a shopping center, and it's going to be a lot of excitement for our community, and people are very
Was it
excited about the
140 stores, I
100
think?
stores.
100 stores.
Yep. You know,
including some high-scale names.
Yeah,
using it as outlets.
exactly, and it's all on the cusp, of course, of that's been an area that's in many respects been vacant for the last several years.
It's been fallow.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
That's
there's a lot of there's excitement in the air on some 2-3 months from now.
Years before you were here, almost a decade, we had the 800-year flood.
Right.
Also, and a young man drowned right there.
I've heard of
got
bits of
swept
that.
into a culvert there.
Yeah.
And Pat Anderson, who's going to be here in 2 weeks, as a matter of fact, our former
Mayor at the time.
was wading right into that water. And it's one of the things I always credit Pat in that regard, because she was out there and she was right in the mix of it.
Right, right.
And but then along came August 6th of last year. And again, you had only been here 3 months, and wham, we got hit by a hailstorm. And believe me, I can testify to that, because our roof went, siding went, deck went, tremendous amount of hail. So there had to be thousands and thousands of building permits that suddenly were thrust upon the city and on you.
All at the same time that grounds, being broken for the outlet mall, and we were on the tail end, if you will, of the council decision that has resulted in the construction of the new homes at the former Parkview golf course site. And I know John Hohenstein he and his staff, Dale Shepner and Mike Ridley, just inundated with activity down in community development. But again, a testament to the great staff we have, because it was handled very well. And the other thing about that storm, of course, that night, Alan, it was National Night Out. It was a Tuesday night.
That's right.
I was kind of in the middle of it too with Chief McDonald. He and I were at the tail end of one of our visits in the neighborhood in his car, and coming up Dodd Road from near the fire station number 4, and we ended up just sitting in the parking lot of fire station 4 for probably a good 10-20 minutes until the hail stopped.
I would say it was about 20 minutes, and it was a horrendous 20 minutes.
And again, the city employees did a great job helping clean up for the next several weeks or so the various parks and tree limbs that needed attention. So it was kind of a hectic summer for many of us folks who work for the city of Eagan, and in many respects the entire community.
Now, you mentioned Parkview. We had 2 golf courses within the city limits. Carriage Hills,
Right.
which is now turned into residential
Housing
property, housing development, and Parkview was rather contentious, but also has now become, and houses are going up very
Correct.
rapidly there now. So talk to that. What does that do in terms of impacting you?
Well, I think many are excited about the prospect of having the more additional and more houses in the community of Eagan. As I think many know, there are pockets of areas for development, but we're kind of not a completely full-grown city, but certainly not like it was in the 80s and the 90s when many homes were being constructed throughout the city of Eagan. And I think people are the council decision on the Parkview Dakota Path development was April of over a year or so ago, and certainly that was a topic that resonated throughout the community for many months
Very
after.
contentious.
Exactly. Now I think many would suggest that it's settled down and people are seeing the development. We had the folks from D.R. Horton were in with the city council and the staff. I believe it was late summer or fall, probably more in the fall, working with some of the area neighbors on some of the issues that they were seeing at the time and were foreseeing, and they did a great job, many would suggest, kind of making the residents understand what they can and will do to be certain that
the initial reaction is always NIMBY, not in my backyard. Right. And most of us feel that way about anything that encroaches into really our property and the pace of our lives. So that was a big thing to overcome. And between these developments, that and the outlet mall and some new housing that's going in fact, there's property right next to Jensen's restaurant where it's starting to be built on, looks like multiple dwelling housing. That's got to help the tax base of the city, doesn't it?
It sure does, Alan. And I think the apartment complex you were talking about there down near Jensen's, I think it's 170 units. That'll be another exciting aspect of the whole development. And I think it's the mayor and council will frequently talk about the patience they showed waiting to get good development down there, and the outlet mall is one of those examples in this apartment complex, and then the other is there will be a new hotel on that campus, I'll call it, down in the Cedar Grove area. So and the building permits that we had last year kind of add to the tax base and add to the building permit revenue, and so Eagan's got a lot of activity going on, and it's an exciting place to be right now.
Is it fair to say that property tax rates in Eagan are the lowest of Minnesota's 30 cities?
Yes, we are, and we always kind of, when we did our budget virtual open house in this room back in November, so that was one of the illustrations we showed, that study done through the League of Cities, and I think Representative Atkins had done kind of a study to illustrate that we are one of the lowest on the city portion property taxes of 30 cities in the Twin Cities metropolitan area.
But that's an important thing in terms of drawing people to the cities. And I see when for sale signs are going up as I drive around now, it's a matter of days, maybe a couple of weeks before you see a sold sign going up, which means we are very desirable in terms of area.
And I think many would agree too, Alan. Another reason for that is the great school systems we have here that our kids are able to go to, whether it be 196 or 197 or 191. All three are great school systems, and obviously those are main features that a community will look for when they're maybe considering moving to Eagan from other parts of the state or other parts of the country, is what is the school system. So it's a total package. Eagan has a lot to offer from A to Z.
And of course our accessibility to the airport, to parkways, to mass transit. I mean, it's really a gifted city in that regard.
It sure is. I shared with you that I have my brother from Boston here to see us, and when I picked him up yesterday at this time, we excited to see one another. He said, how long will it take us to get home? And I said, about 15 minutes. And he just kind of looked at me because he lives in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and that's about an hour at least ride from the Boston airport. So to your point, and Tuesday night we'll be going to a Twins game at Target Field, 25 minutes away, depending on where you park. So those are some of the kind of the intangible amenities that are just worth so much to make a community as great as we have for here in Eagan.
And of course we have the Timberwolves, and one of my favorite teams other than the Twins, the Lynx, who are world champions.
Yep, 2 out of last 3 years.
We have the North Stars.
Not the North Stars, the Wild.
The Wild. My head is still back with the North Stars.
Well, I'm there with you, Alan. I have a North Star hat in my closet I wear. We're 20 minutes away from anywhere.
Yeah.
At tops. So it's a
the
great.
Viking Stadium is going to be the most exciting, probably, football venue in the country.
Yeah.
And Target Field already is.
Yep.
All within, fingertips. They're now going to spend $1 billion fixing up the Nicollet Mall and modernizing it. And something that we haven't even talked about so far. We had a large Lockheed Martin plant here, which I believe had over 1,000 employees there.
I think at its peak.
And they decided they're leaving, and everybody was running around like Chicken Little, the sky is falling. And now we have plans for that also.
Let me give you and the listeners a little bit of an update. It was back, I think, January 10th or 11th or so at that City Council workshop. The officials representing CSM, who are the property owners of the Lockheed Martin site, came before the council and tried to get a sense of, in a non-committal way, what would some of the things the City Council might be looking for as part of the development. So that was maybe an hour to 90-minute discussion that developers and the council had and the staff, and they went back and we've had some internal discussions about a couple of different options that might be under consideration on how to redevelop that. And I would imagine, what are we, late May or so, sometime this summer, we'll say we might have some final details on what their plans might be, and then we'll bring those as a staff in front of the city council for them
But
to
again,
consider.
a lot of parking. It's right near our central park.
Right.
And it makes it very accessible to people. And again, more variety.
And one of the things that the council and the staff have been sharing with them, and I think CSM is understanding, is want to make this a little bit more walkable, a campus, if you will. There's certainly some pockets in our community where it's great shopping areas, but the ability to walk and maybe bike there is somewhat limiting. So that was one of the topics that the council shared with CSM back in January. Let's be certain that it becomes a little bit more walkable and accessible and pedestrian friendly.
And we're now to the point where I don't know if Cascade Bay is opening this weekend or not.
Not Memorial Weekend, but a week later, whatever that weekend.
A great water park, a great really venue for children and for families.
Right.
I mean, these things are really. I feel we're doing an infomercial for for Eagan right now, but it really is well deserved. I mean,
well, and the other amenity that we have in our community that is sometimes a hidden gem is Lebanon Hills Park, and of course that's a county park. But I've perhaps shared with you, like I did others, I had never been in that park. I had lived in Hastings for 24 years and had never been in that park until I moved here back in October. And it's just a wonderful facility that has all sorts of opportunities for exercise, walking, lake activities, and certainly winter activities. Another great amenity. And you can be in the park and you'd think you were miles and miles away from an urban area, and you're only minutes away.
When my setter retriever was alive, we would go down and we would walk, just walk for a few miles and see nobody. And
I did that this winter with my dog.
Except the occasional animal.
Yeah.
It's great. It's like you step into the wilderness,
right,
and you're in the city.
And yet for me, it's probably 3 minutes from my home on that eastern entrance. So it's a nice amenity.
We have all of these things. We also are getting improvement to the parking garage that's right now near the new outlet mall. I guess they're cutting a new road through there to make it more accessible for buses.
We're building two-part, if you will, Alan. Part of the development is the city constructing a 1,500, I think it's about 1,550 parking stall garage for the outlet mall area and other businesses in the area. And then the other is the Cedar Transit Station.
Right.
Will be the. I don't think it'll be until next year start constructing where the buses will be able to, in a sense, get on and off at, not unlike what they do down or up on 35W in that, is it Lake Street area where you just kind of come off? Because right now it's kind of a gerrymandered route off Diffley up Nichols and then turn around and go back. And I think it was back late fall, early winter when all the parties involved kind of settled on that as the favored opportunity or the favored option to have a better bus stop there.
Make it better for the drivers, make it better for the passengers.
Well, it's just kind of a crazy route, if you will, that we have now, and the success of the Red Line, I think, is further reason to want to get that correct at our station, and with the outlet mall, that's even further reason to do so. That's another example of a great collaborative effort, whether it be Dakota County, the state, MVTA, the city of Eagan, and all its partners kind of joining together to make a decision that'll benefit the transit riders here in the next few years.
Because we had a crisis over a water tower, antiquated water tower, and
yeah, it's kind of an interesting question, if you will, for the community, the council, the staff, the city's oldest water tower there up off, you know, in that Lone Oak Pilot Knob road area, and just exactly what we want to do with it. It's obviously serves as a major, if you will, place for the cell antennas. Its useful life is essentially gone, so we've got to either
Well,
decide.
it's a great identifier.
It really is. So we had kind of an informal survey conducted either side of the first of the year, and to the extent that the outcome might suggest that the community wouldn't be disappointed if it was gone. Don't put a lot of money into it. So I know our public works and utility staff are kind of looking into what the options are, and I think maybe later this summer we'll have a report to the council.
Tell them I'd be disappointed
if
it
it
was
came
gone.
down. I will pass on another supporter to keep it.
It's like a landmark.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've been told that some of the pilots who've been around a while kind of use it as a little bit of a recognition to know that
I would
they're
think that
about
that's
home,
probably
if you
so.
will.
It's,
Yeah.
well, we also have one of the safest cities in the state, and probably any place, really. It's
It really is, Alan. Jim McDonald and our police department do a great job. You know, the other public safety course, Mike Scott is our fire chief, and our fire department. They're constantly doing a great job with and the fire departments throughout the state and country are in kind of I'll say a state of flux, in that the ability to recruit paid on-call firefighters throughout the country is at a bit of a crossroads. Mike Scott did a great job last fall securing some dollars from the federal government for 5 firefighters, so they're called a SAFER grant, and I think it was right around Thanksgiving time we learned that we would be the recipient to that. So for 2 years we've got funding to pay for 5 new firefighters. And
we're also building a new firehouse, if I'm not mistaken.
well, that's still under study. One thing that we are doing, Alan, is we're acquiring some property so that we have it, and I believe it's our the city council workshop in June. The chief and I and some others will present a report to our council on exactly kind of the status of that. There's a discussion of consolidating some of our fire stations. But the council has, in a sense, given the direction to acquire the property, and then we've got a few more steps to take as we consider whether and when to build that new fire station.
We have more to talk about, but we don't have time to talk
It's
about
over
it.
already?
It's over already, but we have Capone Park, which is opening this week. We certainly have the farmers market. We have a wonderful community center with senior activities and activities for everybody.
I was
It
told
has
we
a
had
running
2,000
track.
Excuse me, I was told we had 2,000 people at Holt's Farm on Sunday.
I'm not surprised. So we got to talk more. You'll have to come back.
I'd be happy to
And,
do it anytime, Alan.
Dave Osberg, the City Administrator of the City of Eagan, and it's fun talking about nice things. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate it.